Happy Tuesday to you, and welcome on in here. First pitch live on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. And if you're joining us here, that means that the world did not end yesterday with the eclipse, which is great to know. And it's also great to know we never have to hear about an eclipse for about the rest of our lifetimes. So that's at least good here. The guys have some games that they've eyed to break down on the MLB slate for you. 13 night games. We're going to be talking at least 4 of them. The rest of them are going to be decided by you. That's right, live in the chat here with us. And if you're joining us, make sure you hit that like button. It's a great way to give a little thanks to the guys giving you winners here live on the YouTube channel. The 4 games will definitely be hitting with my man Bryan Power and Adam Trigger. We got the D-backs and the Rockies, the Giants, Nationals, Marlins versus Yankees, and the Twins, Dodgers. Only for you folks. Guys will be breaking down what's coming by the end of the show, but looking forward to chopping it up with our folks in the comments section. And also, we got a poll up, guys, that we'll get your guys' thoughts on throughout the show here. Which home dog would be worth an outright bet today? We got Minnesota getting the 160 against the Dodgers, Royals plus 112 against Houston, LA Angels against Tampa Bay at plus 110, and then St. Louis versus my Philadelphia Phillies. Yes, there's the obligatory mention at plus 120. So, guys, we'll be talking about that throughout the show, but let's start with what we actually planned on here, and we'll start with my man Bryan Power. D-backs, Rockies. The Rockies finally grabbed that 3rd win of the year yesterday, man, and it was resounding fashion. I mean, the balls were just flying out of the park last night. 7-5, the win. Any thoughts on this high total that we have sitting here in game 2? We get a repeat of night 1. What do you think?
Well, look, Dan, you're not new to this sport, and let me just break it down this way, okay? High totals are always the norm at Coors Field. They're going to definitely be the norm this year because it's Coors, and it's a terrible pitching staff. Now, I get that this is sort of stretching the concept of a big game breakdown when we're talking D-backs and Rockies, but it is Trig and I after all. So somebody's got to hit the Rockies quota for the show. Yes. All right. But it is also the 6th head-to-head meeting already this season between these teams. 4 of the previous 5 have gone over. And as you alluded to, Dan, that includes last night here at Coors. Rockies win 7-5 as 150 money line underdogs. They had 13 hits in that game, but it wasn't easy. They had to hold on. Arizona leaves the bases loaded in the top of the 9th. Look, I think the D-backs are going to take a step back this year after winning the National League pennant in 2023. They've yet to win on the road this season, 0-4, but they are averaging 6 runs per game on the road. So offense hasn't been the problem. It's not going to be a problem tonight because they're against Cal Quantrill, who they've already seen once this season, scored 5 times off Quantrill in 5 innings back on March 29th. That was a game Arizona won 7-3, and Quantrill was not any better for the Rockies. His second time out, gave up 4 runs in 4 innings. That game, the Rockies lost 9-8 at Wrigley to the Cubs, obviously. And it's Quantrill's first time starting at home this year, but it's Coors, so not really an edge. 6.58 ERA, 6 previous appearances versus the D-backs, so I expect him to give up runs. I expect the Rockies bullpen to give up runs because they're horrible. 6.80 ERA, 1.89 whip. And opposing Quantrill is going to be Merrill Kelly. Second time this season these two have faced off. Kelly has pitched pretty well in the past at Coors, but don't be surprised if the Rockies get to him this time in their second chance facing him. Kelly, here's the deal. They've scored at least 6 runs in 4 of the past 5 games overall, have Colorado. So, I don't know. I think they'll put a crooked number on the board, and Arizona's bullpen's been bad as well, just like Colorado's. That's a lot of words to say what a lot of you probably already figured out. I am taking the over. I was worried this might go to 11.5, but it doesn't look like it's going to do that. I like the over at 11, Arizona and Colorado.
Yeah, we see some differences in juice here and there, 5 cents, a couple of cents here and there. But yeah, 11 painted across the WagerTalk.com live odds screen in that one. So, yes, a decent amount of words to get towards the over in Colorado. But it's apropos because with us, we got our man, Adam Trigger, the man of many words that will always be breaking down each and every side of the game for you here. Trig, brother, how's it going, number 1? And number 2, yesterday on the show, the guys were really making a case for the Marlins. A lot of the looks were first 5, and then they got burnt right around the 4th when the run started coming across. But the chat was loving a potential Marlins play on Eclipse Day. The guys on the show were breaking down, hey, this might be where the fish could maybe catch the Yankees sleeping. And didn't turn out so well. So in true Trig fashion, let's go back to the well, but let's do it on the run line. Give me a case for the fish here today, Trig.
Yeah, so I didn't hate the Marlins yesterday either. It's just with really bad teams, and I'm not even sure that the Marlins are a very bad team. I didn't have them in the same sort of standing as like an A's or a White Sox or a Rockies that we just talked about. Like the bottom of the barrel teams, I just refuse to play anything other than +1.5 at a playable number. The Marlins weren't that coming into the year, so I think like you have to kind of go back to that a little bit, but also take into consideration that they are 1-10 to start the season. I mean, if you told me 10 days ago that I was going to be able to play Marlins +1.5 here with AJ Puck on the mound, a guy that I thought had some potential coming into the season on the road and get the extra at bat, it would have like 1,000% been a client play, maybe even a 5% play for me. But we do have to take into consideration what we've seen so far with the Marlins, and that's a -32 run differential. It's tied for the worst in the league. Just bad baseball, errors, things that are what I thought were a little bit uncharacteristic of this team. Certainly were uncharacteristic of this team last year when they made the playoffs. They weren't making those types of mistakes. Even with all that being said, had this number popped up, Marlins +1.5, -105 or -110, it's probably on my client card. Maybe I'm being a little bit stubborn here, Dan, but I just feel like a 1-10 Marlins team against a Yankees team that's won 9 of 11 to start the season, I felt like that's, what I should have been getting. So maybe the price was a little bit out of range, but it dipped from -130 down to -120. So who knows if the Yankees continue to take money, maybe it does get into that playable range. I guess the other concern for me here is just, the Yankees are having really good at-bats. If you've kind of watched them play lately, every at-bat is tough, 1 through 9. They have the highest walk rate in the American League, and no team has walked more guys than the Marlins this year, 57, which leads the majors right now, through this part of the season, or through this, early in the season. And one of the biggest offenders of that has been AJ Puck, which is surprising. It's a guy I really liked as a pitcher. Now, remember, coming into this year, he was a reliever for his entire career. He was kind of moved into the starting rotation out of necessity. Remember, the Marlins have guys like Braxton Garrett, who are coming off. There's a couple of them that are coming off of rehab stints, and so I actually really like the idea of Puck starting the year in the rotation. I thought he might be able to be a guy that goes out and was really difficult to hit first time through the order, but he's had real command issues, and he was a little bit unlucky. I played the Marlins in his last start against the Angels. A couple balls kind of dropped in and sort of set the tone for a bad outing. But one thing is tough to argue with is the fact that he's walked 9 batters in 6 innings. And so, can I just come in and back him to just turn it around without seeing any sort of buy sign? I think that's the only reason, Dan, that the Marlins is not a client play for me, is that I kind of would like to see something out of Puck before I just jump in and start backing him again. I have no problem fading Rodon. Carlos Rodon is had walk issues as well. He's got 5 walks so far this year. Opponents hitting 300 against him so far. Again, it's early in the season, but he's certainly shown signs of someone I would want to play against. So, one thing I'll kind of be looking at here and monitoring, well, 2 things. One, if this dips into a more playable range, I think if this were to get down to -110, I'd just have to do it. And 2, I want to see when the lineups are released, because there's no way I could consider the Marlins if Jazz Chisholm is not back. I truly believe he's probably their most impactful player on both sides of the ball. He was out yesterday, ran into the wall over the weekend trying to make a play, and they held him out yesterday. So I would want to see if he's in the lineup. But if it doesn't pan out today, I will be looking at Marlins tomorrow. Like, let's say they end up losing this game today. And let's say they lose a close game today, Dan. You'd have Weathers maybe getting a good number with +1.5. If the Yankees burn up some relievers today, that might be something I look to back and oppose Stroman there, for tomorrow. So probably going to just miss my client card, but I think the viewers were on the right track with the Marlins yesterday. And if today's doesn't hit, maybe we get them tomorrow, but it's the way I would certainly look.
We'll just keep banging our head against the Marlins wall until it until it finally gets across there. Yeah, I mean, and hey, for what it's worth, the 2 games that the Yankees actually did drop in their best 11 game start in quite some time, both of them were shutout losses. So hey, if you maybe want to be looking for the Marlins, probably no causation there, but potentially look towards the under if you think those 2 things can tie into each other there. Guys, we got some questions coming in here in the chat. We're going to get to as many games as we can here. The guys also have their best bets coming up here in the Giants and Nats game and Twins and Dodgers game. So stay tuned for that. Let us know what you're betting in the chat below. But the games that we possibly can't get to, or you just want some more information from some of our experts at WagerTalk, we have some other links in the description in the video right below us where you can get best bets in Cubs Padres. We got Mets and Braves up there, the Seattle game. Guys are posting videos all the time here, and it's more reason than ever to hit subscribe. And while you're down there hitting that and the little bell, give us a little like here for the guys on the video as well. Let's get going with some of these questions, though. Bri, I'll start with you. We have Josiah Queen checking in and talk about some of these pee-pee poo-poo caca teams we like talking about here on First Pitch. He's asking here about the Rangers playing the A's. He's wondering, run line live with the Rangers. I know you guys love going contrarian with some of these ugly dogs, and maybe the A's haven't been as ugly as expected just because they've been so damn ugly, and that was the expectation. But any thoughts here in this Rangers and A's game? He's looking towards laying it on the run line.
Well, first off, Dan, was that word that you said at the beginning, was that some sort of new advanced metric I've missed, some abbreviation?
Yeah,
I don't know what that poopy caca or whatever.
Yeah,
is that on
forget your
Fangraphs?
whips. Yeah, forget your whips. Forget your over expected. It's pee pee poo poo caca, and that's how you determine which teams to bet on.
Okay, gotcha. Trig, I think, is in alignment with this thought process. I don't really like to lay the 1.5 when a team is at home, even if they have an edge like Texas seemingly has against Oakland. So that was I just scratched through that game. I don't know if Trig has anything on it. It's a division game is another reason too. These teams kind of know each other. It's early. Oakland is bad, but they're going to win some games. So I don't know. I stayed away. That's not one that I want to lay 1.5 with. Texas at home. And Texas, I've said this before, I think is taking is going to take a step back this year. I don't think they're going to be the same dominant team we saw. Obviously, there's only one way to go after you win the World Series, but I think there's going to be some regression this year, so I would not be looking to lay the 1.5 actually in that matchup today.
Trig, you have any thoughts on that? I mean, the market, for what it's worth, we've seen some Oakland love in the market. This thing opened minus 220 on the money line for Texas, and we've already seen that tick down below 2 bills in some spots, circa one of the more notable ones that dipped down below that number. So any thoughts for you in that game, or should we just move on to some of these other questions?
Well, I mean, I guess I'll throw this out there. The A's are on a 5-game plus 1.5 win streak right now. So they've covered the plus 1.5 now in 5 straight games. Back-to-back wins against the Tigers, and then they lost 5-4, 1-0, and 5-4. So their plus 1.5 run line's been a really good bet. I believe it's now hit 6 of the last 7, but 5 straight. I'm with Brian. A couple things about the Rangers. I actually like this team. I like this Rangers team. As my dogs go nuts at something in the background, I apologize about that.
Dogs barking today,
probably
boys.
The mailman. I think the mailman might be here. I thought they were outside, so sorry about that. But they've got a bunch of guys banged up right now. So I think if you're going to get the Rangers and play against the Rangers, it's probably early. Like, if you look at their roster and you look at the guys they have injured, I mean, they're going to potentially get a pretty good, almost a team worth of guys back at some point. I just saw Lorenzen. I watched his AAA start at Round Rock. He's probably coming back pretty soon. But guys like Mally, DeGrom, Scherzer, I mean, all varying levels of injuries, but Nathaniel Lowe, Josh Jung, there's a lot of guys that are contributors to this team that are out right now. And so right now, I think is the time to oppose the Rangers. Down the road, when they get healthy, I think they're going to be a scary team again. So in the context of this game, it'd be A's plus 1.5 or pass. I do love my road teams on the run line, as Brian alluded to. Always more appealing if you're going to catch plus 1.5 with the road team, you essentially get the built-in extra at-bat, because the only way the Rangers are batting in the ninth inning is if they're tied or trailing. And I think we'd all take plus 1.5 in that scenario. So I guess I slightly lean A's, but not anything I would actually play tonight.
That's Adam Trigger, WT.buzz/AT. Go ahead, BP.
Yeah, and there's one more thing we need to add here with this specific matchup. It's not great situationally for the Rangers. They played yesterday while Oakland's off. They had Monday off. So that's something that I look at, too. I know Texas got this. They were at home yesterday, so there's no travel involved, whereas Oakland had to travel yesterday. But still, that's not a great situation, I think. And that kind of adds to, I think, Trig and I's consternation, if you will, for not wanting to lay the 1.5 here with the home team.
Good word. Consternation. Whipping out the thesaurus, my man, Bryan Power. I like it. I like it.
There's one of those guys, behind me.
Yeah, well done. Well done. You guys, you can check out these guys over at WagerTalk.com, and you see below me, WT.buzz/deals. That's the page to go to if you want to see how you can save big. We got a great deal going on right now that you can get over a month of plays. So 30-day all access, and then you automatically get to add a 7-day all access on top of that. I mean, huge savings, over like almost $160 worth of savings on that one. So you can ride with guys, get over a month of action. Those are the kind of things that you see over at WT.buzz/deals. Back to the chat here, though, gentlemen. Lot of talk here about some love for the Astros. We got people saying, hey, the Stros have finally woke up. You got to love them today. People are talking first 5 on them as they're opposing the Royals. Trig, you're an expert on the Chicago White Sox. People are saying, hey, maybe there's some letdown after Casey got to beat up on the White Sox a little bit. So any thoughts here for you on this Houston and Kansas City game? For what it's worth, we're looking at 8.5. The total, and Houston pretty much consensus is going to be around like a minus 130 favorite. There's some lower around there, but any thoughts on this one?
I'll tell you what, I'm not betting against Cole Reagans, so it would be Royals plus money Royals or pass for me. The plus 1.5 is unplayable in my opinion at minus 155, but you want to take a shot with the Royals at home. So Brian just made a good point. You know, the Rangers and the Astros finished up their series yesterday. That's kind of a big series. Like, they played Sunday Night Baseball. That's actually an odd scheduling wrinkle. They played Sunday Night Baseball, and then they played again on Monday. But it's like Astros Rangers has become kind of like a high profile series down there and in that division. Suddenly, with the Rangers being good, now the Astros have to turn around, go on the road. I'm not exactly sure why they pushed Christian Javier back, but I think there was a point in time where he was supposed to pitch yesterday, decided to push him off for today. But Cole Reagans for the Royals is nasty. Like, if you haven't seen this guy pitch yet, like, he's not the dude I'm trying to play against. The league doesn't know him very much. 16 strikeouts so far in 12.1 innings. His last start against the Orioles, 1 hit through 6, pitched into the 7th inning, 7 Ks, 1 hit. Took a no decision in that game, but he pitched really good. So I'm not, 0.89 whip so far in the season. I mean, Javier, we know he's good. Like, that, there's no secret there. But I guess I'd be a little concerned why they pushed him off a day this early in the season. So for me, it's Royals or pass. I'd roll the dice with plus 115 on the Royals.
Any thoughts for you in that one, my man, BP, Houston and KC?
Look, Trig talked about how the accolades of both starting pitchers here. I don't think we're going to see a lot of runs early in this game. I would expect both starters to pitch pretty well. Javier, he had a blow up in the 5th inning his last time out, I believe, where it looked like he was going to make it unscathed, and then it kind of unraveled. I would just think that maybe a first 5 under is the way to go here because, Reagans is really good. Javier, Trig brings up an interesting point. Why was he pushed back? Maybe they just liked this matchup better for him in the dugout for Houston. So I think this is going to be a low-scoring start with 2 very solid starters. That is kind of the only angle I could come up with looking at this one real quick.
All right, guys, before we get to some best bets here, last one, we already talked a little bit about that Rangers game, but we haven't touched upon the Braves and the Mets, and Daryl Turner was checking in, asking, anybody thinking about a first 5 in that one? So, BP, I'll throw it right back your way. As far as the Braves and the Mets go, Anything standing out to you at that one? That one's going at 7:20 Eastern. We're looking at Atlanta about, we'll call it the consensus minus 185 favorite, and the total ticking down from 10. We're seeing 9.5 painted in that one. But talking first five, anything jump out at you?
First five, I would almost maybe want to take a shot with the Mets keeping it even. Obviously, the Mets had the win yesterday. The Mets are a team, I know everyone was like ripping on them after they lost the first game of that doubleheader to Detroit. They were this one of only two winless teams. Everyone was burying them on Twitter. Their own announcers were burying them. Then they came back and won the second game. I don't think the Mets are as bad as they were made out to be. Yeah. Obviously, the Braves are a juggernaut. It's them and the Dodgers are 1A, 1B in the senior circuit. It's tough to go against the Braves, especially at home, but an awful lot. They are 2-0 off a loss, Atlanta, this year, so there is that. But I don't know. It might be worth a shot for the Mets to keep it even, or even grab the half run. Which obviously would be, you'd have to lay a little juice for that, but you have the benefit of it's tied, then you're a winner.
Yeah, and I don't know if maybe that move is a little bit related to the potential weather there. I know they are checking, some heavy rain in the afternoon, so that game might end up being pushed back. And even if it does end up getting played on time, they're probably going to be looking at some light showers throughout the game, so definitely something to monitor. But still, even at 9.5, that seems a tick high to me. Before we talk best bets, Trig, anything else you want to close it down on this Mets and Braves game that's going this evening at 7:20?
Yeah, I considered the Mets there. The plus 1.5 was a little bit pricey, minus 125. Like, I'm really trying to keep these to like minus 115 or lower. But if you remember, I was on the show last week when the White Sox were playing the Braves. Ronaldo Lopez was the pitcher, and that was the White Sox lone win of the season. And I kind of talked about Lopez and what the Braves are doing, and it's like he's kind of a placeholder right now. Like he's a veteran that is going to go out and give them a start every fifth day, kind of like 6 innings. He actually pitched pretty good in that game. 6 innings, just 1 run on 4 hits. I think it unraveled. I think the White Sox only won 3-2. So he pitched pretty good. But the point is, the Braves, at their AAA Gwinnett right now, are absolutely loaded with young pitching. Like, I have a feeling Lopez is just there to kind of try to bridge the gap until like June or so, because the Braves expect to win this year. Brian already pointed out they're a contender. And I think Atlanta knows how good they are, and they're not trying to, they're content with playing at 70% in April and May. And if that means Lopez in the starting rotation for a couple months, so be it. So again, I don't really treat him like an elite starting pitching option. So for that reason, in this matchup, a guy like Hauser, he's a veteran. Like, he's going to go out and, but give a good effort. He was good with the Brewers, and he's someone that I trust, like, not to really get blown up. And of course he comes from the Brewers, so the Braves, it's not like a situation with your typical Braves Mets game where the Braves have a ton of exposure to like an average Mets pitcher, which has seemed to be the case in a lot of these Braves Mets matchups, the last couple of years. So here, I think there is some value on the Mets, and maybe Brian's right. Maybe you just focus on this one being tied at the end of 5 innings, and then you take your money that way with the plus half a run. But again, someone was asking for underdogs. The Mets are a team that I think can play up. It means they're going to lose games that people think they should win, but they feel like the type of team that could play with some of the better teams and grind out good results. They just took 2 of 3 from a pretty good Reds team, so who knows? Maybe that plus 155 is good there. I certainly wouldn't lay it with the Braves tonight, though. Feels like a weird spot to want to lay juice with Atlanta.
So that's the guys' thoughts there on the Bravos and the Metropolitans. If you want to get Steve Merrill's thoughts, hop below. You just check out the link in our description in this video right here that you're watching right now, and it'll link you right on over. We got Cubs-Padres breakdown, Seattle game breakdown, and this one that we just mentioned as well. So you can hop below there in the description, click one of those links, and stay right here getting the info that you know and love. Keep on betting these sports that you love to bet on. Best bets, gentlemen. Start off with you, Brian. Let folks know what you got rocking tonight, and then let us know, is it bounce back time for the Giants after they got rolled at home against the Nats? Plus 184 dog cashed yesterday. We're talking all about dogs, man. Giants looking to bounce back today. Let folks know what you have up and how you're betting that one.
Yeah, after Trig and I have basically crapped on every favorite on the board today, I'll tell you a favorite that I think is going to win, and it is the Giants. The trend is very curious. This is something that I don't think a lot of people would expect to hear. You mentioned the loss last night the Giants had here at home to the Nats. Going back to last season, that's the 5th straight time the Giants have lost to the Nats. Blake Snell, his debut obviously did not go as advertised. I wasn't that shocked by it, though, because he was such a late signing in the spring. First time facing big league hitters. But that was one half of the equation. The other half of the equation was the Giants went 0 for 10 with runners in scoring position. You're not going to win a baseball game when that happens. It's not something I expect will be repeated today. It's been a struggle at the plate recently for San Francisco, but I do expect them to get revenge tonight, Dan, because it starts with the guy who's on the mound for Washington, Josiah Gray. 2 starts this year, and they have gone poorly. 14.05 ERA, 2.401 WHIP. He allowed 7 runs in 4 innings against Cincinnati, 6 more in 4 1/3 against the Pirates. Gray, he's gotten run support, and he still hasn't been able to get it done. Or he's gotten run support in the past against the Giants, I should say, pardon me. 32 runs in 3 career starts against the Giants. I don't think he's getting that today. Last night was the Nats' highest scoring game of the season. They previously only scored 5 runs in the 3-game series against your Philadelphia Phillies. Giants are going with Kyle Harrison, and I expect him to pitch well. He's never lost at home. Now, it's a small sample size, just 4 starts last season. His rookie campaign, 2.66 ERA, though. And this is the first time Washington's seen him. That's typically an edge to the pitcher. On my page right now, wt.buzz/BP, you see it on the screen. I made a case, small client play, just to take the Giants for the full game here. I jumped on it before we saw them get bet up a little bit. If it's too juicy for you, what I would do, best bet for the show today, lay the half run with Harrison and San Francisco in the first 5. I expect if they are to bounce back, you would expect them to have the advantage early. I fully expect them to have the lead after 5 innings. So that's how we'll play this one if you don't want to lay the juice. On my page, also, NBA play. NBA has been very good this season, 58%, going back to last year's finals. As a matter of fact, 3-1 our last 4. We had a great wire-to-wire win with the T-Wolves on Sunday. Obviously, there was no NBA yesterday, but we're back with a late-night total, 16-9, last 25 totals. You can find it right there at wt.buzz/BP.
Giants hop out to a lead, says my man Bryan Power. And in the chat on our YouTube short stream, MS saying Washington going to win. So MS opposing, but hey, Washington can win and we can still cash the first 5, laying the half a run line. That's fine with me. So that's what we have there in the YouTube Shorts chat. We appreciate you guys hopping below in the chat, whether you're dropping your plays, whether you're opposing our plays, or you're asking some questions. The guys appreciate it here. And while you're down there, make sure you hit that like button and give us a subscribe, folks. It's a great way to make sure you don't miss any of the content that goes live, like those links that are in the description below us. It'll always notify you when we have a new video, whether we're live or our single game videos that we're posting on an hourly basis across all the sports that you're looking to bet. All right, Trig, Twins, Dodgers. Ace Rothstein was in the chat asking, what do we think about the Dodgers? And I just held on to that one because I knew you had a best bet in this one. It was a 4-2 win for the Dodgers in the opener yesterday. Twins getting +1.5 on the run line, +105, obviously. Any thoughts on that one, Trig?
Yeah, I would go against the Dodgers on the run line here. Now, I've been kind of preaching this for a couple of weeks. I said, you're going to get some serious value playing against the Dodgers on the run line. Now, you've got to kind of pick your spots when to do it. And there's probably a point in time this season where you're not going to want to do it because some teams start to unravel. The Dodgers probably hit their stride and hit their peak. But so far, Dan, Dodgers just 5-6 against the -1.5. And it's almost always a playable number on the other side. That's the key, right? Like, we know the -1.5 is going to be the number regardless of which teams are playing. It's the juice attached to it. And it's almost always been playable to fade the Dodgers on the run line. I had a winner with it. I think I take a loss with it in the series with the Giants. They came back and covered the run line the next 2 games. I bet against the Dodgers over the weekend, didn't need the run line. That was on Sunday with the Cubs, a team I'm quite high on, and they got the win in that game. Now, in this game, I would be targeting the Twins +1.5. I haven't added this to my client card yet, but I might. I guess the only reason that I haven't added it yet is similar to the Marlins, what we talked about, you're kind of just banking on the Twins, like making a quick turnaround with no buy sign. What I mean by that is the Twins are on an 0-26 run currently with runners in scoring position. They've been one of the worst teams with runners in scoring position all season, hitting just 122. Okay, the Twins though are not one of these, like, they're not the Marlins. They're not like one of these bad teams that we're just trying to, hope keep a close game. The Twins are an actual legitimate team. They're probably going to win their division. They're going to be in the mix, certainly to win the Central, and they'll probably be a playoff team this year. So at some point, they're likely going to start to hit. And, I would kind of be willing to chance that they maybe break out here just straight up on what I think the law of averages says and what I think, they're going to play to versus what Tyler Glasnow probably pitches to at some point. He's off to a tremendous start to his Dodgers career. Opponents hitting just $136 against him. My guess is that ends up going up a little bit. And also the Twins have lost 5 of 6. It's a pretty good team. I keep coming back to that. Minnesota's got a competitive ball club this year. They're just not going to continue to lose games, but it goes hand in hand with the fact that they just have not been able to get a timely hit. The Dodgers won a close game yesterday, and that sort of exposes maybe their main weakness right now, which is their bullpen. The Dodgers bullpen, for as good as this team is, and we're saying, okay, this is a team that's going to win 110 games this year, maybe more. This Dodgers bullpen is pretty average. And I think that's where, that's probably their weakness right now. And coming off of a game where they needed high leverage relievers to see out a close win, maybe that's, the back door would be open for the Twins if they aren't in the lead here to get a couple of late runs, similar to what the Giants did in their series with the Dodgers last week. Another reason I would want to play on Minnesota, I really like Louis Varland. He had a great season for AAA St. Paul last year. I watch a lot of AAA ball, watch most of his starts at the AAA level, have kind of tabbed him as someone I could see having success in the big leagues. He was in the big leagues for a period of time last year, 17 appearances with Minnesota, put up a 1.22 whip, kind of getting bounced back between long relief starting in the bullpen. So pretty impressive numbers. And he was really knocked around by the Brewers, never really had his best stuff. So I'm certainly looking for a spot to back Varland. Maybe it's here. I've been saying all year that there's serious value early on in opposing the Dodgers on the run line. That's been true because the Dodgers have a losing record against the run line and they're typically laying juice. So, the Twins come in, they're at home, they come off a close loss. This just feels like a really good spot for the Twins to maybe get right. So for those of you that were looking for the home dog winner, I think the one I would settle on is the Twins plus 160. But I do think ultimately the better bet, just because you are going to have the Dodgers finding a way in a lot of these close games, would just be to take the Twins plus 1.5. You can currently get it at like minus 105. I think that's a really good bet. And who knows, within the next couple hours, I may throw it on the client card. I'm just not sure yet.
Twins getting the 1.5, says Adam Trigger, but we really want to know what any translators are maybe betting in that one. So hop below in the comments and let us know. Do you have anyone who is an expertise in translations that may or may not have a bet on the Twins getting the 1.5 there? Guys, before we shut it down, we had Los Pablo checking in on our YouTube stream on the shorts side of things. And he was asking, what sites do you guys like going to just to start off for any baseball analytics? One that was dropped in from our account was obviously checking out Baseball Savant. It's a good starting point. So BP, anything for you, or you kind of just go, obviously, what your own spreadsheets are saying and your own research? Anything stand out to you as far as the data analysis that you go in starting every morning? Any sites that maybe some novice bettors could check out?
Unmute myself. I had a barking dog as well there, Dan. So look, and I'm also playing with my daughter's toy here. I can raise my hand. Look at this. But look, I joked earlier when you said whatever word you said there, Dan, about that news stat. I go to Fangraphs all the time, regularly. I check that out. I think that's a very insightful site, a good place to start your handicapping. It's a good place if you're not familiar with a lot of the advanced stats. It's a good place to learn them. But yeah, I have my own power ratings I use. I have, my own place. You have matchups. I look at the matchups. Obviously, I came from covers. I'm still, I use their matchups pages as well, just to get a gauge of the last 10, just to remind myself. But yeah, that's just a couple that I use.
How about you, Trey, before we shut things down? Anywhere where you hop into just as you're starting for your baseline before you get into what your numbers say? Any sites that people use, whether they're paid services or whether they're free? I mean, obviously, we always suggest people WagerTalk live odds screen. That's not for data, but that's finding the best damn price that you can out there. But as far as analysis sites for you, Trey, anything that comes to mind?
I mean, Fangraphs has been great forever. So Brian already kind of touched on that one. I really like, for me, like when I'm trying to research like the lineage of a player, and I watch a lot of like AAA ball, like I always like to go over to Baseball Reference. I think they do a really good job of laying out stats, not only for MLB, but for other levels, Korean baseball as well. I obviously follow that, and then you can use RotoWire for some, to stay on top of certain moves. Something like the WagerTalk odd screen or, any of the odd services to get a good, benchmark of where something opens, what books it's moving at. I always like to look at, the movement at certain books. Like, certain books are known for taking sharper money than others. So like a move at a place like Circa, I kind of maybe, put a little bit more stock in. I will say this though, and so far it's worked for me this year. I've actually tried to look at that stuff less, meaning I felt like it was my undoing at times last year. I tried to look. So 2022 had one of my best baseball seasons ever. 2023 was not nearly as good. Down year for me in baseball. It's one of only, I think I've had 3 losing seasons in the last decade in baseball, and last year was one of them. And so one of the changes I've kind of made have been looking at things like, I want to know what the line opened at, so I know I'm not taking a bad number, but I'm far less concerned with like ticket count, money percentage. I just feel like that stuff doesn't matter nearly as much in MLB than it does in like a sport like the NFL, where you've got like serious volume in the market. So I've tried to look at stuff like that a lot less. So for me, it's really just a quick glance at like the opening number, just so I know like where it moves overnight, like out of respect to clients and being able to get down. I post a lot of my stuff in the morning, so I want to make sure I'm not taking like a bad number per se, but like that's really all I'm looking at. And then I'm just, digging into my research and trusting what I'm watching. I guess what my advantage right now is I really do nothing with the NHL, nothing with the NBA, nothing with soccer. So I just watch baseball all day, every day. And I try to, I've been trying to just bank off of like what I'm seeing. A big thing last night, I cashed with the Reds. I watched Andy Ashby pitch at AAA Nashville last week. I knew he was in rehab mode and that he probably wasn't ready to throw a big league start. They kind of had to put him there because of an injury. And so I felt like that kind of led me to a 5% play on the Reds, which won. So that's really what I'm focused on. And I think it's going to yield better results than trying to just get too concerned with, why something's moved or ticket count money. It just hasn't sort of mattered in baseball as much.
Yeah, and to your point, especially in a daily sport like MLB, sometimes you can fall into that paralysis by over analysis, where you get your head in a complete spin. Come in with what you're eyeing, see if the data backs it up. If it doesn't, it's a pass, or it could be potentially a look the other way kind of deal. And with nights like tonight, you got 13 games on the night board. No reason to twist yourself in knots over a grind season like baseball is. That's Adam Trigger, Bryan Power as well. The best bets for the guys. Trig was looking at the Twins getting the 1.5 at a plus money price against the Dodgers, and Bryan Power looking to lay the 0.5 run in the bounce back role for the San Francisco Giants. We had somebody checking in the Instagram chat. That's right. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on our Instagram pages, and of course we're streaming live on X or Twitter, whatever the heck you want to call it. But we had somebody checking in saying, hey, I'm a Dodgers fan, unbiased as always. He likes the pitcher on the mound. Dodgers fans maybe potentially thinking, hey, let's lay the 1.5. So I like it when we get some head-to-head action. We'll circle back to that and the Instagram chat on tomorrow's show. But appreciate you guys rocking with us here for the show. And while you're on your way out, folks, I noticed likes were a little low with you live viewers. On the rewatch, hit that like button. Give these guys a thanks for dropping actionable info. And if you want breakdowns on some other games, you don't have to go far. You can stay right here on the WagerTalk TV YouTube channel. As a matter of fact, you can scroll down and check out the links in the description. Or if you're watching on the replay, click the video on the screen right now. Continue getting all the info you need to bet all the sports you love. It's what we do here at WagerTalk TV. Big thanks to the guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Best of luck, everyone. Have a good one.